it just set the worst tone for the Yankees, and there was no way they were coming back from that. I don't
No.
care what anyone said. There was no way they were coming back from that.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. With me, as usual, my co-host, Brian McKeon. Brian, hello.
Stacey.
How are we doing?
Happy Sunday. Happy Monday.
Yes, Monday. You all know we record this on Sunday, but happy Monday to all of you, because this is when the show is going up. Before we get started, don't forget, subscribe to Locked On Yankees on whichever podcasting platform you prefer. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube, like our videos, hit the bell so you're notified whenever our videos go live, and comment too, because that helps the algorithm and all that jazz. On today's show, rumors. It's the off season, things that people are saying about the Yankees. A new Japanese player has posted. We'll talk about him a little bit. And everyone's favorite manager, Aaron Boone. The Yankees exercised his option. So we're going to start off with that news because that's the best news of the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily surprising. Saw this coming. I do wonder if there's an extension looming. That does scare me. Because here's the thing. Most teams don't let their manager that just took him to a World Series become a lame duck manager going into a final year of a contract. Mm-hmm. So I would find it, I'll call the word surprising. I would find it surprising if the Yankees let him go into the last year of his contract after going to a World Series, after winning an AL pennant. You know what I mean? We have our opinions on how the World Series went, but at the end of the day, he still did win the AL pennant last year. So it's kind of hard for me to sit here and have him go into the last year of his contract as a lame duck manager while he just won an AL pennant. So I don't know how they're going to handle that. It's definitely very intriguing to me. There's a press conference scheduled for tomorrow with Aaron Boone. I find it hard to believe they'd be having a press conference to tell you that they're picking up his option. More than likely, I feel like they'd be having a press conference to announce an extension that they just haven't announced yet. And they'll pull the pomp and circumstance. They'll throw the banners. They'll act like it's a great achievement of what he did and how great he's been and everything like that. If I can offer Yankee fans some bit of solace, give you all a collective hug, to get over the Aaron Boone news. Likely, I know because they lost the World Series and especially because of Game 1, we all want our pound of flesh, right? Me equally for Game 1 in the game of Milwaukee in June. We all want our pound of flesh. Let me just say this. If they fire Aaron Boone and we all got our pound of flesh, whoever they were going to bring in next year would have been the exact same guy that Aaron Boone was. It would have been another guy that followed the book, that followed whatever the Yankees told him to do. And Brian Cashman made this quote a few years ago on the Michael Kay show, where he said, our manager, Aaron Boone, is allowed to go off script. However, if he goes off script, he better be right. And I really feel like anyone they hired would have had the same outlook. It would have been the same rules or the same expectations out of them. So while, yes, I am upset that they brought Aaron Boone back, or they're going to be bringing him back, and I'm upset that he's probably going to get a 3-year extension. And I'm upset of all those reasons. Well, it's not going to sit here, Stacey, and act like if Aaron Boone wasn't brought back, that they wouldn't have hired some dude that would have done the exact same things that Aaron Boone would have done.
Yeah. And who would they even hire? Who's even out there for them to hire?
Well, it would have been, that's the funny part. It would have been someone you've never heard of.
Right.
It would have been a bench coach from some team that's obsessed with analytics that no one's ever heard of.
Or maybe someone from a minor league or from one of the minor league
it wouldn't matter who it is. It would be someone who buys into the numbers. It would be a Dave Roberts type. That's all Dave Roberts. Dave Roberts and Aaron Boone are the same guy, right? Well, just for different organizations. Dave Roberts had a massive stolen base in the 2004 ALCS. He goes down in Boston lore. He's not necessarily a all-time Boston Red Sox. No one thinks of him that way, but people still look at him fondly because he had the stolen base. It's the same way Aaron Boone for the Yankees. No one looks at Aaron Boone as an all-time Yankee, but he's got a legendary home run, so he's going to get cheers every time he walks back into the Bronx. Dave Roberts got a job because he stayed involved in baseball and was obsessed with the analytics, and the Dodgers wanted a guy like that, and they brought him in, and it's worked, right? I mean, has Dave Roberts made awful postseason calls? Absolutely. Has Dave Roberts also consistently won 95-plus game with the Dodgers? Yes. And the Dodgers put him in. I'm not necessarily giving Dave Roberts credit, right? Because the Dodgers do everything imaginable to put Dave Roberts in the most insanely great way to win, no matter what. Like, Dave Roberts is never put in a bad position to not win, ever. He's always got a completely stacked team that this offseason they're expected to spend more money. So let's not sit here and act like the Dodgers don't put him in, like, anything, anyone, any inanimate object could win games with the Dodgers. They're that.
I was going to say, I could win games with the Dodgers.
Exactly. Anyone could. And I, ideally the Yankees create a team like that. But I just, managers unfortunately can screw things up, and Aaron Boone screwed up for the Yankees this year. Dave Roberts has sure lost his fair share of playoff games for the Dodgers. You just got to hope that this extension, that's the thing. Like, if you told me before the year started, Stacey, they're going to go to the World Series and lose to the Dodgers in 5, would you have thought Aaron Boone was gone or back?
Oh, no. I would think he was back.
Yeah,
Sure.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, they're going to point that to why they kept him.
And I wouldn't have been that upset with that result if I knew that. You know what I mean? Like, if you think, okay, knowing what the Dodgers were coming into the season and knowing what the Yankees were coming into the season and seeing them get into the World Series and losing in 5, you think, all right, they lost 4-1, but maybe they were competitive games, and for the most part.
Yeah.
But to have that first game go the way it did, it just set the worst tone for the Yankees, and there was no way they were coming back from that.
No.
I don't care what anyone said. There was no way they were coming back from that.
No, I mean, I agree with you. I also
felt it in my, it felt like I'm gonna imitate myself from 9 innings from Ground Zero, but it felt like just I was like,
Yep.
oh my God, they're not winning this. This just killed them.
I also do hate there's this remembrance that people have of Brian Cashman on the day Aaron Boone was hired, saying that he planned on Boone being the Yankee manager for at least 10 years because that's the same path that Joe Girardi and Joe Torre were on, which is being brought back to the light, that comment of late. And I can't help but sit here and think it's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard, because why would you, A, say that on the day that you bring a guy in, but B, why would you never be open to moving on from a guy? If what he's doing is not working, Aaron Boone should not keep the job. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand why I get you on consistency. And everybody ideally wants to be the Pittsburgh Steelers who have 3 coaches in 40 years.
Yeah,
everyone
people
wants
don't
to
go
be that.
into hiring a manager and thinking to themselves, all right, this guy might be gone in 2 years. Like,
But
no,
it doesn't mean you keep him at all costs.
Right.
It doesn't mean you keep him at all costs. And to say that comment after moving on from Joe Girardi after he went to an ALCS, I think is a little disingenuous. But again, we have to keep telling ourselves that I know we want Boone gone because we don't like Aaron Boone, and that's fine. But to sit here and act like, we're being a little naive if we sit here and act like whoever they'd bring in to counterpart Aaron Boone wouldn't be the exact same guy Aaron Boone is. They would.
Right.
It would be the exact same thing.
What strikes me about that is it's interesting that Cashman said that, because Boone had no managerial experience coming into this.
No.
They hired him from ESPN. He was an analyst for ESPN. And
no,
yes,
his experience was being in a baseball family his whole life. That's what
I was going to say.
Yeah.
That was his pedigree, that he was literally born into baseball. Like, when his mother was pregnant, his father and his uncle and the whole family was involved in baseball. And just, how do you say that on the first day that we plan to keep him for 10 years? And you know what? The first year was annoying because of the way they lost to the Red Sox. I didn't blame Boone for that. 2019.
No, they had a great year. They had a great year in 2018. They ran into a buzzsaw.
Yeah. Cheating. And 2019, 103 games with 30 guys on the IL. Like, what? Every guy that came in that had to perform put up 2 weeks of a lifetime whenever they
Literally.
replaced someone who was out. It was unbelievable. And then, I'm not going to fault him for the COVID year because the team was just not great in the COVID year.
And it got hurt too.
But there were some moves questionable happening. The J-Hap Davy Garcia thing, I'll never get over that ever. And then you start there are cracks in the facade and I don't want to say the other phrase because but you know what I mean? Like there were cracks in the facade.
Yeah.
And like you said, I know they made it to a World Series and you don't normally fire someone for making it to the World Series. But my God, I know the team didn't do great in the remaining games, but like I said 5 minutes ago, that first game lost them that World Series. It lost them the World Series. And who was the reason for it?
And also, let's not forget they've gone now 2 straight years where they've started out really, really hot and completely fallen apart. And that has a lot to do with the manager. It does. Sure. And I don't want to hear about how great of a manager he is in keeping guys in check because, all I heard from Cashman in the quotes over the weekend were that, he really knows how to keep guys in check and keep guys focused and everything. Does he? Because they've gone on massive losing streaks over and not bad play over the course of a month. They've done this year after year after year after starting off super hot. So does he keep guys focused or is he really good at hyping up for the season to start? But again, there's nothing that was going to happen this year that was going to keep him. I don't even know if the Yankees missed the playoffs. Was that going to keep Aaron Boone out of returning? I don't know.
Yeah. So I have one quick thing to say, and then we're going to make it like a cliffhanger. So I'm going to read you 2 things, and then you get to think about it during the break. And then we'll go do it in segment 2. So when the option was exercised on Friday, this is what Cashman said. Aaron is a steadying presence in our clubhouse and possesses a profound ability to connect with and foster relationships with his players. Consistently exhibiting these skills in such a demanding and pressurized market is what makes him one of the game's finest managers. Our work is clearly not done, but as we pursue the ultimate prize in 2025, I'm excited to have Aaron back to lead our team. Now, Ruben Sierra, that my dad used to love calling him Ruben, just joined Twitter recently. And he quote tweeted that Brian Hoke tweet with the Brian Cashman statement about Aaron Boone and said, "The role of managers today confuses me. When I played, the manager's role was to win games, not be everyone's friend." So think about that during the break and we'll discuss it because I thought that was interesting. And by the way, if you're not following him, if you're not leaving that website, I'm in the midst of leaving it. But if you're not leaving that website, follow Ruben Sierra because he's pretty cool. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button on our videos, hit the notifications so you know when our videos go up. You can also join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. The link is in the description. You'll get texts from us. You can text us questions and comments, and we send out any breaking news so you don't have to check social media. There's a 14-day free trial. So coming up, we have to discuss the Ruben Sierra thing.
Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place all of your bets. Guys, it's that time of year where there's nothing better to do on a Sunday than to sit inside, watch football, 7 hours of commercial-free football, and just bask in the glory of it, right? And you can make that Sunday so much better by getting involved on FanDuel Sportsbook and pumping up your bank account a little more. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel. It's the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thanks again for making Locked On Yankees your first listen. And remember that every Friday is Fan Mail Friday. You can leave questions for us underneath the pinned comment on our videos Monday through Thursday, or you can join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club to get top priority during Fan Mail Friday. The link is in our description. So, Stacey, the Ruben Sierra tweet. Fun. Interesting. And also a point that we've been making for a while, it feels like.
That's why I thought of it.
I know Aaron Boone is really good with the players, and I think managing egos is a part of the managerial job. I'm not dismissing that.
Sure.
Especially with the modern day athlete. I think it's a huge part of the job. But to make it the whole part of the job, I don't need a manager that is best friends with the players. There's a double fold to all of this, right? I don't know if Joe Torre would work nowadays as a manager. I don't, because I don't know if the attitude of ignoring your players' feelings and just benching guys in the middle of a playoff series would work today. Because I don't know if the modern day athlete would handle that very well.
I don't think so.
I don't think with the modern day egos and with social media and with the way the media is nowadays, I don't know if a modern day athlete would handle it well. So I don't know if Joe Torre didn't have to answer his questions as viscerally as Aaron Boone does today. He didn't. So it's a lot easier to bench a guy or move A-Rod to 8th in the order when the questions aren't going to come to you as viscerally as they are with Aaron Boone.
You know what? Wait, that's true, because I didn't think about that. Back when Torre was managing, like MySpace existed toward the end, but no one was really on it. And Facebook existed, but no one was really talking about stuff. There wasn't Twitter.
Nope.
There wasn't, instant quotes from beat writers feeding you information. You found everything out either on SportsCenter, maybe on the Yes Post game. And even before that, you found everything out in the newspaper the next day, like in the 90s before all that stuff started. So yeah, it's a completely different animal.
And because reporters weren't searching for the immediate quote to get their story out there, or get their tweet to have, the most likes of the night or the most retweets or the most quote tweets, you weren't getting asked questions that were enticing you to give horrible answers.
Right.
Whereas Aaron Boone does that more. And a part of Aaron Boone's job is to be able to run the circle around the media and be able to answer questions without answering them. And you know what? I'm going to say, Aaron Boone does do a good job of that. He does stay consistent at all of our players are amazing. They're great. They do wonderful things, even when they don't play well. So you can't really take that away from him. Joe Torre would not have been that way. And you know what? The problem with that would have been, in today's world, if Joe Torre handled the media like he did back then, he would get crucified all the time. The Yankees would be the top story all the time. The Twitter would be insane, because all you'd have is the Yankees manager talking poorly about their players 24/7, and it would have been a bad look. And I don't know if modern day athletes would be able to handle that very well. It's just the truth. So I don't know if I can sit here and give you the rigmarole, the runaround of, the past managers would have worked better. Part of the reason they removed Joe Girardi from the job was because he was talking poorly about Gary Sanchez. And Gary Sanchez isn't even on the team anymore, but they didn't like that handling of egos that way.
Right.
And look what happened. Now he's been out of 2 jobs since then, and he's not going to return to baseball more than likely. There is a way to manage games, and Aaron Boone does that well, but there is a fine line, right? I don't need a guy who's all their best friends. I don't need a guy who's dapping up the players as they come back to, into the. I don't need that. There's a fine line between both of them, and I think at times Aaron Boone doesn't know how to walk it. I think he's trying to be one of the guys a little too much. He's trying to be one of their buddies. He's trying to, and I get it. As a former player, he does relate to the players a different way. But Joe Torre also played in Major League Baseball.
Sure.
Joe Girardi also played in Major League Baseball. So I don't love that opinion that, Aaron Boone relates more because he's this, former player and all that. He's not, he's not in the position to be these guys' best friends. He doesn't need to be that. They don't need that. But there is a fine line between both. So I think when you think about Aaron Boone, you got to realize too, the Yankees could be in a lot worse of a situation media-wise if Joe Torre was running this team right now, or even maybe Joe Girardi, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because it already started getting that way. There were certain beat writers that would ask Girardi certain questions, and you could see in his face that he either wanted to punch the guy, or, like you could see the anger in his face. And that started, I would say, probably like 2011, 2012, like in that time period when Twitter really started picking up. I mean, I joined Twitter in 2008. I was one of the earlier people, not early, because I think Twitter technically started in 06 or 07, but I think it was Wally Matthews from ESPN New York. And Wally was a little obnoxious and he would write obnoxious things about players and stuff. But he asked Girardi a question and I thought Girardi was literally going to punch him in the mouth. I can't remember
Yeah.
what it's in reference to. But, now that I'm thinking about that, yeah, Joe Girardi could not be a manager in 2024. He just couldn't.
And the funny thing is that the media members, when they're looking for the next best quote tweet, whatever it is, they know the questions to ask. They know what's going to get him off. They know what's going to make him freak out, which is going to give them a really good tweet, which is going to get it all, they know all those things. And Aaron Boone doesn't have those buttons. Here and there you get him banging a desk and saying that, we it's right in front of us and all that stupid stuff. But more often than not, Aaron Boone doesn't have those triggers. He gives you the same jargon and it annoys us as Yankee fans. It really does. But that's what the Yankees want. And it works because when are they in the headlines for stupid things Aaron Boone for bad things that Aaron Boone's causing? When are they in the headlines for crazy comments that Aaron Boone made?
Right.
It's never happening.
Right. I just thought that was interesting. So coming up next, we're going to talk about some of the free agents that the Yankees have, meaning they played for the Yankees and, who will they bring back, hopefully, because the Yankees are rumored to be the aggressors when it comes to the reliever market. So we'll be talking about that next. The first time I ever went to a basketball game was at Madison Square Garden in 1994. Yes, it took me a while to get to an actual NBA game. The Knicks beat the heck out of the Miami Heat, but Madonna was at the game. So I had a really fun time. And I would like to repeat that sort of fun time at an NBA game. And you know how I can do that? With GameTime. It's never been easier to get tickets for NBA games with GameTime. They have a new feature called GameTime Picks. It does all the hard work for you. So instead of searching through thousands of tickets, GameTime Picks filters out the fluff and shows you only the absolute best deals on great seats. And if that wasn't enough, they've got an all-in pricing feature. You just toggle on it. It shows you the full price up front, no surprises at checkout, because that happens in other places. You also get seat views. So if you've never been to a venue, you can see a panoramic view from your seat in the app so you can decide exactly where you want to sit. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime Picks. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. So, apparently, the Yankees are going to be the most aggressive when it comes to relievers in free agency, which makes sense because the bullpen, which was a patchwork bullpen and questionable for most of the season, really picked it up in the playoffs and did a tremendous job. I mean, there were guys that you couldn't imagine being in the bullpen at any point in the season who came out and were incredible, like Tim Hill. Who would have pictured Tim Hill doing what he did? Tim Hill, who should have been in game one. That Tim Hill. Tommy Kahnle did a nice job. Not that that's surprising. It's cool that he came back and did a nice job with the Yankees because, he had been around a little bit. What do we think of Clay Holmes coming back?
I think there's a good chance he'll be brought back, and I think he'll get a decent deal in the open market. Not that I necessarily love the idea of that. I mean, let's not forget, although Clay Holmes was good in the postseason, he did have the most blown saves of like a Yankee reliever ever. Ever. Let's also hold that into account. If he's not your closer, I think there's a path there for Clay Holmes. But sure. I also do think that Clay Holmes returned to the mean of what Clay Holmes actually is. I could picture the Yankees moving on from him or getting him back on a shorter term deal. And I don't think I'd hate that move. I do think Tim Hill will be back. And I wouldn't be surprised if he'd be back, especially because I don't think he'd cost a fortune either.
No, I don't think he would either. I just love that he came out of nowhere. The White Sox get rid of him. The White Sox. The White Sox lost over 120 games, and they were just like, bye to Tim Hill. See ya. And Tim Hill's like, okay, I'm going to pitch important innings in the World Series, the ALCS, and the ALDS with the Yankees. I mean, how cool is that for him? So, yeah, I really hope they bring him back, and I don't think he's going to cost a lot of money. So,
and became your lefty specialist, really.
Yeah.
People forget that, too. Like, that's a valuable role in baseball. A little more valuable in the past, really, since that 3 batter rule has become a thing. But still, a really valuable role. And again, he won't cost a fortune. So I think there's a really high chance he's back. I don't know if Kahnle's back. And Kahnle's been a Yankee forever, and he did post that big thing online saying that he wants to end his career here and everything. I don't know if that winds up becoming a thing. Tommy Kahnle is a very, very interesting player. Has an electric fastball, an electric changeup, but then decides to throw the changeup all the time and never throws the fastball. Also, it seems like when he's healthy, has points where he's really effective, but also is never healthy. He always misses giant chunks of the year. And then when he's there and he's great. But he's also always out for 110 games a year. So I don't know if Tommy Kahnle is necessarily back. I do think there's a chance Clay Holmes is back at the deal they want. And I don't know if there's a huge market for Clay Holmes out there. I do think Tim Hill's back.
Yeah. Do you think maybe they do, like, I don't know, not like a special deal for Kahnle, but something to bring him back? Like,
it depends. How badly does he want to retire a Yankee? How badly does he want to be a Yankee? If you want to come back for $1.2 million per year and come back on a 1-year deal at that price, be my guest. But if Houston, who's going to need bullpen help, is going to be willing to offer him something over, a 2-3 year deal, with $2 million a year or something, I can't picture him not taking the money. There will be money out there for Tommy Kahnle.
I think
there will be, and I don't know if the Yankees are going to be willing to give him that.
Right, because they're really going to have to think about, like, I know they need to make sure the bullpen is up to snuff, and need to bring some guys back. They also have to worry about Juan Soto. Hal is meeting with Juan Soto in about a week and a couple days at this point, because I think it was a week and a half at the beginning of the weekend. So, that'll be happening, so everyone can calm down.
Let's also keep in mind, over the years, the free agent market of relievers tends to be where Cashman really, really succeeds.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think there's a little bit of faith to have there. If he's in on a guy, he's in on a guy.
Yeah.
And he tends to find a lot of diamonds in the rough on the free agent market. Guys that he signs, you're like, who the heck is this guy? And then all of a sudden he becomes a stud. So that happens a lot too. If there's one thing Cashman's really good at over the last decade, it's been bullpen relief arms that come out of nowhere. But
it also helps to have Matt Blake as the pitching coach too.
A lot.
Yeah.
An arm though that has not come out of nowhere, that is a free agent this year. Carlos Estevez, he's probably the biggest reliever available on the market this year. Was unbelievable for the Phillies this year. Was traded from the Angels to the Phillies. He gave up 5 earned runs the entire year, finished with a 2.45 ERA, had a stint where he was hurt, but overall had a really, really, really good year. I don't believe the Phillies will be huge spenders this offseason, only because they have, between the Harper deal, the Trey Turner deal, the Wheeler deal, the Nola deal, there's so many contracts they have locked up, Stacey, that they got $222 million locked up into 2025 already, right now. So that's before making any signings. That's before bringing any rookies up, everything before any extensions are given out. That's an insane amount of money that's already locked up. They're already well above the luxury tax for next season. I have a hard time believing they're going to pump that up even crazier. It just wouldn't make any sense to me. I think Estevez is going to get somewhere between $16 to $20 million a year. Probably worth it. Throws really hard, has great movement, low ERA. And let's be real. The Yankees could use a player like that in their bullpen. They don't really have a stud arm in their bullpen. I know we saw that out of Luke Weaver, and we believe in Luke Weaver, but I don't know if they necessarily view Luke Weaver as a stud arm at this point yet. He's not one of the best closers in the league yet.
Right. He hasn't done it for a full season either. It was really just the last
he has time to go. And I think he's got potential. I do. I think he's got the guts for it, the stuff for it, for sure. And you can go into next year with Luke Weaver as your closer. I don't think there's a problem with that. But signing an elite arm like this, especially while your closer is making the league minimum, I think could be really effective. They have that room in their bullpen. And again, I do think they're going to need, you don't know what you're going to get out of Loaizaga next year, if he's going to come back healthy or not. You don't know if you're going to get that. There's a lot of guys around their bullpen that you don't know. Sure, you could bring Tim Hill back, but there's a lot of maneuvers they have to make. And I think bringing in an elite arm like this, it's been a while since the Yankees have had a true elite showstopper arm in their bullpen. And I don't think Estevez is one of those guys who's going to really care whether he's the closer or the 8th inning guy or the 7th inning guy or just a mixed guy. And while teams are moving towards that a little more, having that hybrid ultra relief arm is a great fit in your team, and they could really use an arm like this.
Mm-hmm. Fun fact, Carlos Estevez is Charlie Sheen's real name.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Yeah. Carlos Erwin Estevez is Charlie Sheen's real name. I just had to double check.
Better.
I had to, yeah. Well, yeah. Emilio kept the last
actor.
name, and then Charlie Sheen went with his father and anglicized his name. So, yeah. Every time I see Carlos Estevez, that's the first thing I think of. I think of Charlie Sheen's real name because that's how my brain works. So coming up tomorrow, we're going to let you know all about Roki Sasaki because that's the big news in baseball. He's posted, and let's be real. Who's really in the running for him?
Yeah, because you're going to see a lot of these rumors come out claiming that everyone's involved, right? And we're seeing this with every free agent, right? The Pete Alonso rumors that came out the Yankees that were completely false, but like, oh, Pete Alonso's the Yankees want Pete Alonso. Everyone is going to be involved according to some report. Every fan base is going to have a report come out.
Just because Cashman said that he talked to Boris about Alonso, like maybe he asked him how he was feeling.
Yeah, there's also tampering rules where Cashman can't say the Yankees aren't interested in Pete Alonso. He's
right.
not allowed to say that. So, there's also that's involved in the whole scenario. But we're going to really dive down into who wants Sasaki because we were going to do it today, but I feel like it needs a little more length and a little more of a body of a show to really go over. He is the top posted free agent this offseason, like international wise. Has a lot of remnants of Yamamoto, could be another Yamamoto, could be that people are saying the people that missed out on Yamamoto, this could be the diamond that comes the next year that oh, wow, this guy's available. No one even realized was going to be available. Wasn't necessarily expected to be available this offseason either. So this wasn't a talking point for 2 years before, like Yu Darvish or Yamamoto. This is, a kind of a news that came out of the nowhere. And I do think the Yankees are going to want to be highly involved in this.
Well, I just think it's funny. One quick thing before we go, because you still have some people, and this was so long ago, it cracks me up, but you still have some people who are fans of the Yankees who are still uneasy when it comes to Japanese pitchers because of Kei Igawa. And since then, we had Hiroki Kuroda for a couple of seasons. He was amazing, and the timing was bad because he was older at that point, but he was fantastic when he was with the Yankees. He just happened to play for one bad season, 2013, but he was great. Masahiro Tanaka was fantastic. So forget Kei Igawa. That's the 2000s, okay? Don't think about that. And don't worry about it. As much as we like to rail on the front office, and there were some mistakes in the mid-2000s, they've gotten better at the players that they pick from Japan. So we're going to get into all that tomorrow, but I just wanted to say that because I wanted to bring up Kei Igawa and give some people PTSD from the mid-2000s who remember that point in Yankee history. So thank you guys for making Locked On Yankees your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB. Baseball guru Sully brings you a daily blend of humor and baseball, keeping you updated on every rumor and story throughout the offseason. Find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. So that'll do it for this edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias.
I'm Brian McKeon. We'll catch you tomorrow.